The bombs are silent, but the danger is not. Two nations stand face to face, their fingers closed to the unthinkable. Will they choose peace or risk it all? Chapter 1. The Partition of 1947. The train moved slowly through dark, silent lands. The air was thick with fear. Men, women, and children sat close together, holding their bags, their babies, and their breath. Where were they going? They did not know. They only knew they had to leave. The year was 1947. The British Empire was ending its long rule over India. But as the British left, something terrible happened. India was divided into two new countries, India and Pakistan. India would be a home for millions of Hindus. Pakistan would be a home for millions of Muslims. It was called the Partition. But it was not just a line on a map. It became a river of tears, blood, and broken dreams. Millions of people had to leave their homes, their villages, their memories, forever. Families were separated. Neighbors became strangers. Friends became enemies. The trains kept coming, filled with people searching for safety. But some trains never arrived. Violence exploded across the land. It was a time of great sadness, a time of fear, a time of anger. Why did it happen? Could this disaster have been stopped? No one knew. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi had wanted peace. They dreamed of one united India, where people of all religions could live together. But other leaders believed that Muslims and Hindus could not share one country, so they agreed to divide the land. Pakistan was born on 14 August 1947. India was born one day later. The world watched in silence. But the birth of these two nations was not peaceful. It was violent. In the north, in a place called Punjab, terrible things happened. People were killed. Homes were burned. Women and children cried for help. But no one came. The Kashmir region, high in the mountains, also became a problem. Both India and Pakistan wanted it. Both said, "Kashmir belongs to us." The seeds of war were planted that day, and they would grow for many years. Today, we can still hear the echoes of 1947. The pain has not fully gone. The questions remain. Could India and Pakistan have chosen a different path? Could they have lived side by side as friends? The trains of partition have stopped, but the journey of these two nations continues. What would happen next? Could the two neighbors learn from the past? Or were they already walking towards something even more dangerous? Chapter 2. The Kashmir Dispute. High in the cold, silent mountains of the Himalayas lies a land of great beauty and great pain. This land is called Kashmir. The rivers are clear. The trees stand tall. The snowy peaks touch the sky. But under this beauty, a terrible conflict has lived for many years. It began in 1947, when India and Pakistan were born. The question was simple, yet deadly. Who owns Kashmir? Kashmir was ruled by a prince, the Maharaja of Kashmir. His people were mostly Muslim, but he himself was Hindu. As violence spread during partition, the Maharaja made a choice. He asked India for help. In return, he agreed for Kashmir to join India. Pakistan was shocked. They believed Kashmir should belong to them because most of the people were Muslim. The fight for Kashmir had started, and it has never truly ended. In October 1947, Pakistani fighters entered Kashmir. They wanted to take control. Indian soldiers quickly arrived. Battles were fought in the mountains and valleys. The world watched as two new nations went to war over a land of snow and silence. By 1948, a line was drawn. It was called the Line of Control. It was not a true border, only a ceasefire line. Part of Kashmir stayed with India. Part was controlled by Pakistan. Both sides claimed, Kashmir belongs to us. The people of Kashmir were caught in the middle. They had no voice. They had no choice. Families were divided. Friends were separated. The sound of gunfire replaced the songs of birds. Since then, the dispute has exploded again and again. In 1965, another war. In 1971, more violence. Soldiers have marched, bullets have flown, children have grown up in fear. Why has peace been so difficult? Why can't two neighbors agree? The answer is complex. History, religion, politics, and pride all play a part. But one truth is clear. The people of Kashmir continue to suffer. Over the years, both countries built stronger armies. Both nations refused to give up their claim. Each side feared the other. Each side prepared for war again. Today, Kashmir remains one of the most dangerous places on earth. One mistake, one wrong move, could lead to disaster. And yet, there is still hope. Sometimes leaders meet and talk of peace. Sometimes, people from both sides dream of a day without soldiers and guns. Will that day come? Will the rivers of Kashmir flow quietly again? Will children walk safely under the tall trees? Or will the mountains of Kashmir hear the sounds of war once more? Chapter 3. Wars and Broken Peace. The sun rose over India and over Pakistan, two neighbors so close yet so far apart. Since 1947, a dark shadow had grown between them. It was the shadow of Kashmir. The land of beauty had become the land of battles. In 1947, they fought their first war. It ended with a line of control, but no true peace. The question of Kashmir remained, cold and unanswered. Then came 1965. Once again, war returned. Pakistan sent soldiers and fighters into Indian Kashmir. They believed the people would rise and join them. But that did not happen. Instead, India's army pushed back with full force. The sky was filled with planes. Tanks rolled over the green fields. Soldiers fought bravely, and many never returned home. For 17 long days, the world watched in fear. Could this war spread beyond Kashmir? Could it pull other nations into the fire? The United Nations stepped in. A ceasefire was agreed. The guns stopped. But the anger did not. And then, just 6 years later, the worst war of all. In 1971, trouble began again. This time, not in Kashmir, but in East Pakistan, thousands of kilometers away. The people of East Pakistan wanted independence. They called themselves Bangladesh. The fight for freedom turned into a terrible war. Millions of people fled across the border into India. India could not watch in silence. They sent their army to support Bangladesh. For 2 weeks, India and Pakistan fought in the air, on the sea, and on the land. Cities were bombed. Ships were sunk. Brave soldiers on both sides risked everything. At last, Pakistan surrendered. East Pakistan became the new country of Bangladesh. It was a proud moment for the people of Bangladesh, but a painful defeat for Pakistan. 3 wars. So many lives lost. So many families broken. Each time, the world had hoped for peace. Each time, hopes were crushed under the weight of history and hate. Why? Why could 2 neighbors not find another way? Was war the only language they understood? Both India and Pakistan had strong armies. Both had proud leaders. Both had people who had suffered too much. But something else had started to grow in secret, something even more dangerous than war. Both countries had begun to dream of a weapon that could end all fights or destroy everything. The world did not know yet. But a new race had begun. A nuclear race. Would this race bring safety or lead to the final war? The world held its breath and waited. Chapter 5. Pakistan's Silent Race. The news shook the world, and it shook Pakistan most of all. In 1974, India had tested its first nuclear bomb. The test was called Smiling Buddha. But to Pakistan, there was nothing to smile about. The balance had changed. India now had the ultimate weapon. Pakistan had none. In the cold offices of Islamabad, Pakistan's leaders sat in silence. What could they do? Could they trust India not to use the bomb? Could they risk having no answer? The decision was clear. Pakistan had to act, quickly and quietly. A nuclear race had begun. Pakistan's leader at the time, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, spoke strong words. "We will eat grass if we must, but we will have our own bomb." The work started in secret. Deep inside laboratories, behind locked doors and thick walls, Pakistan's top scientists worked day and night. Their mission? To unlock the secret of the atom. But it was not easy. Pakistan had less money than India. They had fewer resources, fewer allies. Could they catch up, or would they fall behind forever? One man would become the face of Pakistan's nuclear dream. His name was Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan. Dr. Khan had studied in Europe. He knew how uranium could be enriched to make a bomb. He returned to Pakistan with knowledge and a dream to protect his country. Under his leadership, Pakistan built special machines called centrifuges. These machines spun uranium at incredible speeds, slowly turning it into the material needed for a nuclear bomb. The work was dangerous. The pressure was intense. Mistakes could cause disaster. But still, the scientists continued. Outside the labs, Pakistan made quiet deals with other countries. Coded messages were sent. Materials were shipped in secret. Every step had to be hidden from the eyes of the world. The United States, the Soviet Union, and many others warned Pakistan, "Do not build the bomb." But Pakistan refused to stop. They believed their survival depended on it. As the years passed, Pakistan's program grew stronger. By the early 1990s, many believed Pakistan was close, very close, to having its own bomb. Yet no test had been done. The bomb was still silent, hidden in the shadows. The world wondered, would Pakistan show its power? Or would they stay quiet forever? India had the bomb. Pakistan wanted the bomb. Both stood watching each other like two tigers ready to fight. Would this race ever end? Or would it only push them closer to war? The answer was still to come. The world held its breath and waited. Chapter 6. The Scientist Behind the Dream. The world knew very little about him. Yet, inside Pakistan, one name became famous and feared: Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan. He was the man behind Pakistan's silent race for the bomb. Some called him a hero. Others called him a thief or even a dangerous man. Who was this mysterious scientist? And what had he done to change history? Dr. Khan was born in 1936 in India before partition. Later, his family moved to Pakistan, the land of his people. As a young man, he studied in Europe, in the Netherlands and Germany. There, Dr. Khan learned something very important and very dangerous. He studied how to build centrifuges. These machines spin uranium very fast and help turn it into material for a nuclear bomb. In 1974, when India tested its first bomb, Dr. Khan decided to return home. He offered his knowledge to Pakistan. He had a clear goal. We must never be weak. We must have the bomb. Pakistan's leaders accepted. A secret program was born. Under Dr. Khan's command, the scientists worked in the shadows. They built the famous Kahuta research laboratories near Islamabad. Fences, guards, and secrets surrounded the place. Few people even knew what happened inside. Dr. Khan's team worked day and night. The world was watching, but could not see. The project moved fast. Mistakes were made. But slowly, Pakistan moved closer to its nuclear dream. Dr. Khan became a national hero. His face appeared on posters. Crowds shouted his name. He was known as the father of Pakistan's nuclear program. But the story had a darker side, too. Western countries accused Dr. Khan of stealing secret designs from Europe. They said he used illegal ways to get parts and information. Dr. Khan always denied it. In Pakistan, many people defended him. They believed he did what he had to do to protect his country. Later, Dr. Khan was linked to something even more dangerous: the sale of nuclear secrets to other countries like Iran, Libya, and North Korea. In 2004, Dr. Khan appeared on Pakistani television. His voice was calm but serious. He said, "I accept full responsibility." He was placed under house arrest. The world was shocked. Was this man a protector or a risk to the world? In Pakistan, people still loved him. They believed without Dr. Khan, Pakistan would have been weak and open to attack. To them, he was the man who gave Pakistan a strong voice. But for many outside Pakistan, he became a symbol of how dangerous nuclear knowledge could spread. Dr. Khan died in 2021, but his story lives on. His life raises a question we still ask today. Can one man save a nation with knowledge, or can that knowledge destroy the world? The world held its breath and waited. Chapter 7. The year 1998. India strikes again. The hot sun beat down on the sands of Pokhran, a quiet place in the deserts of India. The ground looked still, calm, peaceful. But under that earth, something deadly waited. The date was the 11th of May, 1998. The world had no idea what was about to happen. Deep underground, Indian scientists had worked in total silence. Their mission? To test their most powerful secret, nuclear bombs. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then, an explosion. The ground shook like an earthquake. The sky filled with dust. The desert roared with the sound of destruction. India had tested its first nuclear bomb in 1974, but this time they showed the world their full power. In just 2 days, India tested 5 nuclear devices. The message was clear. India was now a nuclear power, a force that could not be ignored. Indian Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee announced it with pride. The people of India celebrated. There were parades, music, and smiles. The nation believed it had taken a great step to protect itself. But not everyone was celebrating. Across the border in Pakistan, leaders and citizens watched in shock and fear. What would happen next? For years, India and Pakistan had lived under the shadow of war. They had fought in 1947, 1965, and 1971. Now, India had shown it had the most terrible weapon of all. The world reacted quickly. The United States, Japan, and other nations punished India with economic sanctions. They stopped trade and aid. They said, "This is dangerous. Stop now." But India stood firm. Their leaders believed the tests were necessary. They felt surrounded by threats from both Pakistan and China. The tests were named Operation Shakti, which means strength in Hindi. And that is exactly what India wanted to show. But would this show of power bring peace or pull the world closer to disaster? Pakistan had been quietly working on its own nuclear program for years. Their scientists had come very close. But now they faced a choice. Would they answer India's tests with silence or with fire? The pressure grew. Pakistani newspapers asked, "Will we respond?" The people of Pakistan demanded action. The government faced the hardest decision of all. The world waited. In India, there was pride, but also fear. Would Pakistan strike back? Would this be the beginning of a dangerous new chapter? The desert of Pokhran became a symbol of power, of danger, and of the terrible future that might come. The world held its breath and waited. Chapter 8. Pakistan answers with power. The world had barely recovered from India's shocking nuclear tests in May 1998. But just 2 weeks later, all eyes turned to Pakistan. A decision had been made. A silent race had suddenly become a loud and dangerous reality. On 28th May, 1998, deep inside the Chagai Hills of western Pakistan, the ground trembled. A flash of light, a wave of heat, a roar that echoed through the valleys. Pakistan had tested its first nuclear bomb. The code name was Chagai-1. Then, on 30th May, Pakistan tested again. In total, 6 nuclear devices shook the earth. The message was clear. We are equal now. The people of Pakistan cheered. Crowds filled the streets. Flags waved in the hot air. Drums and music celebrated the success. Their country had stood strong. They were no longer the weaker neighbor. Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif spoke to the nation. His voice was calm, but firm. He said, "Today, we have settled the score." For years, Pakistan had watched and waited. Now, they had shown their power. But the celebrations could not hide the fear. The fear of what this meant for the world. Both India and Pakistan were now nuclear powers. The most dangerous weapons on Earth belonged to 2 neighbors who had fought 3 wars. The balance of power had changed forever. But had it made the world safer or more dangerous? The world reacted with deep concern. Countries around the globe called for calm. The United States, Japan, and others placed heavy sanctions on Pakistan, just as they had done with India. The leaders of both countries spoke of peace. But their armies stayed ready. Their missiles stood like silent giants, waiting. Was this the start of a new, terrible chapter? Could a mistake or a misunderstanding now lead to disaster? Some hoped the tests would stop further conflict. They believed that with equal power, both sides would avoid war. It was called nuclear deterrence. The idea was simple. If both nations had the bomb, neither would dare to use it. But others warned that this was like walking on a thin wire, high above the ground, with no safety net. Could leaders always stay calm in moments of anger? Could systems and machines always work perfectly? One accident, one wrong decision. That was all it would take. The Chagai Hills stood silent again. The tests were over. But the danger had only just begun. The world held its breath and waited. Chapter 9. The Kargil War on the Edge. The snow-covered peaks of Kargil stood cold and silent. The winds whispered through the sharp mountain rocks. But in May 1999, that silence was broken by the sound of war. India and Pakistan, now both nuclear powers, were once again facing each other. This time in the high mountains of Kashmir. The Kargil region is a hard place. Temperatures fall below 0. The land is rough and dangerous. Yet, soldiers from both sides climbed those icy paths, ready to fight. What happened? How did the world come so close to disaster? In the spring of 1999, Indian forces noticed something strange. Unknown fighters had crossed the line of control and taken control of high mountain positions. These positions gave them a powerful view over the main road that connected India's troops in Kashmir. India was shocked. The attackers were well armed and hidden in the rocky cliffs. Pakistan said they were Kashmiri freedom fighters. India believed they were Pakistani soldiers in disguise. The truth may never be fully known. But the fighting began. The battle was brutal. Indian soldiers had to climb steep mountains under heavy gunfire. Snow and ice made every step deadly. Planes and helicopters flew above, dropping bombs on enemy positions. It was war at the roof of the world. The world watched in fear. Both countries had nuclear weapons. What if this small mountain conflict grew into a full war? Would someone press the unthinkable button? In capitals around the globe, leaders made urgent phone calls. They begged both sides to stop. Diplomats worked day and night. The world held its breath. In the end, the fighting stayed limited to the mountains of Kargil. By July 1999, Indian forces had pushed the attackers back across the line of control. The cost was high. Hundreds of soldiers died on both sides. Families mourned. Cities held silent ceremonies for their lost sons. But the nightmare of nuclear war had been avoided. This time. The Kargil War became a warning. It showed how quickly small conflicts could explode between two nuclear nations. It showed how dangerous the world had become. After the war, India and Pakistan agreed to talk again. They signed peace papers. They promised to find better ways to solve problems. But promises can be fragile, like ice under heavy boots. The mountains of Kargil stand quiet once more. The snow covers the scars of war. But the danger has not fully disappeared. Could this happen again? Could a small fight once more bring the world close to the edge? Chapter 10. Silent Threats and Open Warnings. The Kargil War had ended, but the danger had not. The mountains were quiet again, but the skies and seas were not. Both India and Pakistan had nuclear weapons now. The world hoped they would step back from the edge. But instead, the next years brought new fear. The two countries began a dangerous game. They showed power not through war, but through silent threats and open warnings. India tested missiles with strange names: Agni, which means fire, and Prithvi, earth. These missiles could carry nuclear bombs to faraway places. Pakistan answered with its own tests. They launched missiles called Gauri and Shaheen. They too could carry nuclear weapons. Each test was like a message, a warning sent into the sky. Look what we can do, they both seemed to say. Do not push us. At the same time, both countries held huge military drills. Thousands of soldiers, tanks, and planes moved across the land. Cameras filmed it all. The world watched in growing fear. The leaders gave angry speeches. Words were sharp like knives. Each side blamed the other. Each side promised to protect their people at any cost. Sometimes, the threats were loud and clear. Other times, they were soft and hidden, but just as dangerous. The people of both nations watched, too. They were proud of their countries, yet afraid of what might come next. In 2001, something terrible happened. An attack on the Indian parliament killed many people. India blamed Pakistan. The armies of both countries moved closer to the borders. The world held its breath. Again. Would this be the moment when the silent threats became real action? In the cold nights, the soldiers waited. Their fingers touched their weapons. Planes stood ready to fly. Missiles stood ready to launch. But in the end, war did not come. Diplomats and world leaders worked hard behind closed doors. They begged India and Pakistan to step back. Slowly, carefully, both sides agreed. The soldiers returned to their bases. The missiles were not fired. The skies stayed dark. Yet the danger remained. The weapons were still there. The anger was still there. Was this the new normal? A world where two nations live side by side, always threatening, never trusting? Or could words finally lead to peace? Could understanding grow in the place of fear? The answers were not clear. Chapter 11. Can diplomacy save us? The world had watched the missiles, the soldiers, the angry speeches. Everyone knew. One mistake could bring disaster. And so, in quiet meeting rooms, far from the noise of the battlefield, a different fight began. A fight for peace. Leaders from India and Pakistan sat across long tables. The air was heavy with tension. Words were soft, but every word carried great weight. These were the peace talks. In 2004, something remarkable happened. The leaders of both nations agreed to start a composite dialogue process. They would talk about all their problems, borders, trade, even Kashmir. For the first time in years, there was hope. Leaders shook hands. Smiles were shared. Photographs showed men and women from both sides standing together. Could this be the beginning of something new? Could human words stop the bombs? India and Pakistan even started confidence-building measures. They opened new bus routes between their countries. Families separated by the line of control could visit each other again. Tears of happiness were seen at the border gates. Sports teams played friendly matches. Artists and singers crossed borders to perform. For a short time, it felt like peace was possible. But behind every handshake, behind every friendly meeting, the nuclear weapons still waited. The missiles were not removed. The armies were not fully pulled back. The trust was still weak. In 2008, tragedy struck. Terrorists attacked the city of Mumbai, killing over 170 people. India blamed groups from Pakistan. The peace talks stopped. The smiles disappeared. The doors of diplomacy closed once again. The people of both nations felt sadness and fear. Had they come so close, only to fall back into anger and distrust? Yet, even after this, small steps toward peace continued. Back-channel talks were held in secret. Leaders sent private messages to avoid public anger. The question remained, can diplomacy work when the stakes are so high? Can human promises control the most deadly power on earth? Can two nations with such a long history of conflict ever truly trust each other? Some believe yes. They say talking is the only way forward. Dialogue, patience, and understanding must be stronger than weapons. Others are not so sure. They fear that words are fragile. and one small crisis could break them at any time. Today, diplomats still meet. They still talk. They still hope. But every meeting happens under the shadow of the bomb. The danger has not disappeared. Chapter 12. The future is unwritten. The sun rises over India and over Pakistan. Two nations, two peoples, two long histories tied together by land and by conflict. Today, both countries remain nuclear powers. The bombs exist, silent, waiting. They sit deep underground, hidden in secret places. The world hopes they never speak. Since the tests of 1998, there has been no nuclear war. The weapons have stayed in their dark homes, but the tensions have not gone away. India and Pakistan still argue over Kashmir. Soldiers still stand along the line of control, watching each other with cold eyes. Missiles still stand ready. The danger remains. Sometimes leaders speak of peace. They shake hands, sign papers, and promise to work together. But trust is fragile. Like thin glass, it can break with just one wrong step. Terrorist attacks, border clashes, and angry words in the news have often pulled them back toward fear. The people of both countries dream of something better. They dream of a day when no child will hear the sound of gunfire, when families can cross borders freely, when peace is stronger than weapons. But will that day come? Technology has made the weapons faster, smaller, and harder to stop. One mistake, one wrong decision could still bring disaster. The world watches carefully. The United Nations, the United States, China, Russia, and Europe all know that war between India and Pakistan could pull the whole world into a terrible crisis. Some believe the fact that both have nuclear weapons has stopped war. They call it mutual destruction. Both sides know that if one bomb falls, the other side will answer. No one wins, but others warn that danger still hangs like a dark cloud. What if communication fails? What if a leader makes a wrong choice? What if an accident happens? There are no easy answers. There is only one truth. The future is unwritten. The story of India and Pakistan is not finished. It continues every day with every decision, every speech, every handshake, and every silent threat. Will these two nations choose peace at last? Will they build bridges, not walls? Will they teach their children friendship instead of fear? Or will history repeat itself once again?